Oh, hi.
Hi, Urvi. Can
How
you
are
see me?
you?
How are
Yes,
you? I
I'm
can see
good.
you.
Finally.
Finally, I'm so sorry about that.
Oh no, I think it's a technology. It can be hard sometimes, so that's okay. Yeah.
Okay. Um,
Yeah.
so can you see me okay? Because I'm actually using my phone.
Yeah,
Um,
I see you
okay.
perfectly fine. Yeah.
Okay, lovely.
Yeah.
Lovely.
So how are you?
I'm good. Thank you, Urvi.
How
And
was
thank you
your
so
day?
much for having me over here on your show. It's
Oh, I
wonderful.
I would love to because like I saw you wrote couple of books and that's interesting and we really thought that you are a perfect person to encourage our audience and especially encourage our woman audience to motivate them to pursue their dream.
I hope I can.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what I aim to do through my writing. So let's talk about it.
Yeah, of course. So before we start anything, I would love to share about you to our audience. Like tell us about yourself.
Okay, well, Urvi, as you know, I'm a writer. I
Mhm.
used to be a journalist, and then I also worked as an editor for a magazine. And then I was drawn to stories about women,
Mhm.
Asian women, especially in India,
Mhm.
and or for Indian heritage, because I have been based in London, where I was born, and Africa, where I grew up, and India, where I got married. So,
Okay.
I just kind of travel between these countries. So that's very much part of my makeup. And that's the kind of stories I write with that background in mind.
Mhm.
I like to bring women into it.
Okay.
So, yes, that's what I do. I write stories
Mhm.
and give a voice to issues that need to be talked about.
Oh, that's interesting. So, how did you, when did you first realize you want to be a writer?
I think very early on, I
Mhm.
was quite a reserved and solitary child.
Mhm.
And when I was growing up, it just so happened I was in Africa and we didn't have as much technology as we have today. So one
Mhm.
tended to spend a lot of time with one's own dreams and with one's own creativity. And I loved reading. So I would
Mhm.
spend hours reading and, conjure up all kinds of imaginative stories. So it
Yeah.
just progressed from there. As a child, I knew that's what I wanted to do. And at university, that's how it went. I started writing and haven't looked
Mhm.
back.
Oh, that's interesting. I would say do you want it to be a journalist or it was your long time goal that you want to be an author or a writer?
Well, to be honest, I always wanted to be a writer, an
Mm-hmm.
author, and but I started out as a journalist. Well, I
Okay.
actually started out working on a magazine. That was my
Oh.
first job. And I got to know the nitty-gritty of a magazine, how to
Mm-hmm.
put it together, how to
Yeah.
write copy, and also how to go out and get stories. From
Mm-hmm.
there, I progressed as a journalist.
Oh,
Okay.
okay.
So then I started writing a different kind of story,
Mm-hmm.
which really dealt with social issues, societal
Okay.
trends,
Mm-hmm.
marginalized stories.
Yeah.
And that's where, after that, I then decided, what, I'm going to write stories for women, about women, and not
Mm-hmm.
just news, but actually,
Yeah.
take the stories,
Mm-hmm.
fictionalize them, and hope they will get to a wider audience. So
Yeah.
that's really the progression, and that's how I came to be an author. But I
Oh.
always knew, to get back to what you're saying, I always knew ultimately this is what I was going to do.
Oh, okay. So, where did you get your inspiration for your first book?
Right. My first book, which was Kindred Spirits,
Mm-hmm.
I had just moved to from London to India.
Okay.
And, as I said, I'd grew up on a variety of stories. So African, Caribbean, um, English literature, and Indian stories. But the India I had read about
Mm.
was very different from the India that I was then living in, you know.
Okay.
So, and then plus working as a journalist and writing all kinds of stories and covering different segments of trends, I found that
Mm-hmm.
there was a gap that I thought I wanted to give voice to, to fill that gap. I thought I want to say more about the women I was meeting, the stories I was writing about. And
Mm-hmm.
really, that's how it started. Women would come to me as a journalist initially, and there were
Mm-hmm.
just so many stories, and there were so
Oh.
many things that weren't written about.
Mm-hmm.
I to be honest, I take subject matters that are a little, what should I say, a little painful, things we want
Mm-hmm.
to brush under the carpet, that we are a
Mm-hmm.
little uncomfortable with, we don't really want to talk about. And I said,
Yeah.
I'm going to give a voice to that.
Mm-hmm.
I'll fictionalize it, I'll
Okay.
weave a story around it,
Mm-hmm.
but at the end of the day, it is a story and a message that needs to be heard. And that's really how I came to be doing what I'm doing.
Yeah, that's true. Like listening to you, I really feel like we are on the same mission because with the Desi Girl magazine, we are trying to, because uh, yeah, if you are living outside of India or outside of South Asia, you get the exposure. But like when you are back home and if people around you are have, that patriotic mindset and like
Mm-hmm.
they want to be like as you know, India is a male dominant country most of the time. Like you will see that in the culture, so we really want to, inspire those women to work towards their dream and try to achieve. Because most of the time we think that we cannot do this, or we are like busy with our family responsibility and everything, and women just give up. So yeah.
No, absolutely. What you say is absolutely spot on. And we need to help others, give them the confidence to push, to find themselves first of all, and
Mhm.
then push themselves further and break that mold. And you're right. That's so you were telling me about Desi magazine. That's
Yeah,
how it's been set up, right? Is that's what
yeah,
you're doing?
yeah.
Giving a voice to women who live
Mhm.
outside.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
wonderful.
Thank you. So I would say like as you write many story related to women, so how you differentiate like one book should be on this topic and how you go for the whole story?
Um, Really, it's what I see happening around me.
Mm-hmm.
Like I said, it started out with trends, the way society is moving,
Mm-hmm.
um, and also what's happening in the news. So you're reading a newspaper, you read about something, and you notice that it's just given a little bit of space, and we flip through it and go to another story,
Mm-hmm.
and then people forget and they move on to the other story, which
Yeah.
is which is the way life is, you know.
Mm-hmm.
But so I would take that story, it has an impact on me. I think it has an impact on a lot of people. But as you say, life,
Mm-hmm.
pressures, so many different things, you tend to forget about them. So then I would do my research. And
Mm-hmm.
yes, another thing is all my stories are based on real life issues. They're real.
Mm-hmm.
They start out as a news item, something
Mm-hmm.
real that's happened.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what I used to do, right? As a journalist, you write a feed, a news feed or a short story, a short article. But
Yeah.
here I thought, I don't want to just do that. I don't want to just write an article and then it gets forgotten.
Yeah.
So I would take that story and then weave it, add characters, add
Mm-hmm.
things, different characters that need to say different things, giving a voice.
Yeah.
And really so it's really what is happening in our society today, a reflection of that. I think my books are a reflection of that. So, you asked me about Kindred Spirits.
Mm-hmm.
When I wrote that, I thought, I mean, it's still happening, but I thought women didn't have a voice to say no. And
Mm-hmm.
so it's about women's sexuality. Now, when I say sexuality, I don't mean just physical. I mean
Mm-hmm.
the ability to say no and the
Mm-hmm.
choice to say, I want this, I want that. Just the to be a strong, empowered woman.
Mm-hmm.
So that's really what I felt at that time, that we didn't have that. So then that's how my first book came about.
Okay. So as you said, like choice, and most of the time, either we are not given the choice, or maybe we are afraid to choose, right? So, like, do you have any actual experience, or you have seen any story in front of you with the choice, and you would like to share with us?
You mean where something has happened and there's been a choice and it's had a great outcome?
Yeah.
Oh, yes, of course. So, my second book, which was called Witch Stories,
Mm-hmm.
is a collection of short stories. Okay. And in that, I took different subjects. Now, it just so happened one of them was rape.
Okay.
And this actually happened where it's sad, but it was at the time when AIDS was very prevalent
Mm-hmm.
and HIV, people didn't know a lot about it.
Yeah.
Okay. And I won't go into the details, but that had the story. I mean, I hope you would read it. The story had I won't say positive, but the woman came out on top,
Mm-hmm.
in the sense that through what happened, she achieved something positive.
Okay.
So there are instances, many, many such instances. Yes, of course. My book Ayala, which deals with incest, for
Mm-hmm.
example, had a great positive reaction, in the sense all the people who were interviewing me
Mm-hmm.
were telling me their stories. So it was like a dam was let loose. People were talking and willing to come out into the open, which I
Mm-hmm.
thought was wonderful. That's what
Mm-hmm.
you want. You want feedback, but you want genuine kind of a breaking or an opening of the dam, right? You want something to say there's a positive outcome. You made a
Yeah.
difference. So especially with this book Ayala, it was fabulous. I mean, I was being interviewed on what I'd written,
Mm-hmm.
and people were talking about what had happened to them and how they'd hidden it, and they felt ashamed and how people didn't understand it, and that was for me really great.
Mm-hmm.
Because you see, when you get other people to talk about things, you realize you're not alone, and
Yeah.
there's nothing to be ashamed.
Mm-hmm.
This is something that's done to you, and it's got to be stopped. Things
Yeah.
like, right. So, yeah, a lot of positive outcomes.
Yeah. That's good. At least people are, getting familiar, because earlier, I'm sure, like before, if you talk about before 10 years, even if any woman is suffering with something, they won't come out and tell, right? Because the culture was so dominating, women were afraid to talk about that.
You're right, and especially in extended families
Hmm.
where there are a lot of people living together. The more traditional families,
Yeah.
there are a lot of people, and yet they don't talk about so many things,
Hmm.
and they tend to hide them. this is the way it is. This is the way it's been, always been.
Mm-hmm.
You know, they don't want to change that mindset.
Yeah.
So you're absolutely right, unfortunately, and it still continues till today. You know, we have progress. There's a lot more to be thankful for, that there have been changes,
Mm-hmm.
but not enough. Not
Yeah,
enough. Don't you
that's
agree?
true. Yes, I agree with that. Because, like, even in the daily life, you see those example. Like, might you don't know those people, but you can see in front of your eyes, and you cannot do anything because, like, if those are stranger, you don't want to get into their life, because of the privacy. But yeah, you can still see that.
Yes, and people are still very wary
Hmm.
of coming out, scared,
Yeah.
unsure. So really, I'm hoping that what we write about will empower more women.
Hmm.
You know, and when you do that, you've already given them a platform to say something. And that's
Yeah.
where change will start if we
Hmm.
do that.
Yeah, I totally agree with you.
But like you say, you know, it's a little, it's not enough. We've
Hmm.
got still so much more to do.
Yeah, that's I totally agree with you. That's very true. So, do you have anything coming up for the next book? Like you have already the idea of your next book, or you are working on it?
Oh, yes, absolutely. So, in, I don't know if you know, so my last book, which was a collection of poems, which I wrote during COVID,
Mm-hmm.
okay? And it was a real departure from women-centric kind of stories. And yet at the same time, it was just about what we all as the world have gone through, you know? So it was
Mm-hmm.
again touching on emotions that I feel my work is really all about. But
Okay.
now I'm writing a new book. It's almost complete.
Mm-hmm.
And it's again relationship. It's about actually women. It's about a divorce. It's about marriage.
Mm-hmm.
It's about wanting to break free.
Okay.
So it's very much on the anvil and very. I'm just putting the finishing touches to it.
Oh, great. We are excited to see your next book then.
Oh, thank you, Urvi. Thank
Yeah.
you.
Yeah. So, being an author, I would like you to define a success for author. Like, how you feel, what should be the success for you?
I think success really comes from when you feel that you've done something or you've achieved something that has had an impact
Mm-hmm.
in the way that you were hoping it would. So for me as a writer, it's first of all putting my thoughts on paper, you
Mm-hmm.
know, getting the word out there.
Mm-hmm.
That's the first step. And then when you get feedback, any kind of feedback, someone's read your book,
Mm-hmm.
they liked your idea, they didn't, that's fine too, because then you listen to another side of a story, you know, you hear another point of view. So
Mm-hmm.
feedback is really what I think for me as a writer, what I really value. Any kind of feedback means that there's been a dent, there's I've made an impact. Someone has
Mm-hmm.
read, someone has listened. And that's how
Mm-hmm.
you pass a message along, isn't it? And that's how
Yeah,
you make
that's
change.
mm-hmm.
So really
Yeah, that's
that's for me really means a lot.
yeah, that's true. Because especially like if you most of the time what happens is we want other people to see that we are successful, but sometimes it happens that we are not happy, we are just performing. So yeah, feeling good is really what important for you, right? And understand your message.
I think so for in any profession, to be honest, if you
Mm-hmm.
feel if you're passionate about what you're doing,
Mm-hmm.
that's the start. And then you believe in what you're doing and you know, this is what I want to do. and this is
Yeah.
what this is my path, or this is what I'm enjoying. You're
Mm.
already there. And then if you
Yeah.
get feedback from that, well, what more can you want?
Yeah, of course. Yeah. So, like, do you view writing as a spiritual practice or just a passion?
Well, it's giving a voice to your thoughts, your
Mm-hmm.
innermost thinkings, your desires, your apprehensions, your fears. So in that way, it's a kind of in a way, cleansing,
Mm-hmm.
you know, because you're putting all that down on paper.
Mm-hmm.
So, and I am passionate about what I do, because if I wasn't, it would be very difficult, because as you know, writing is a very demanding
Mm-hmm.
profession, and also solitary.
Yeah.
You know, and you have to make sure that you sit every day, you do the same thing, and sometimes there's nobody else telling you. You know, like on a magazine, you've got a deadline.
Yeah.
With a book, okay, I'm not doing it today, I'll do it tomorrow. So you have to be
Okay.
very disciplined.
Mm-hmm.
So for me, it's me. It's what I do. It's what I believe in. I'm passionate about it. That's it. I mean, spiritual, yes, it helps me. It's very cathartic. You know, it kind of helps me release my thoughts, which makes me
Mm-hmm.
feel good. So in
Yeah.
that sense, maybe yes.
Yeah.
You know.
Okay. Yeah. So, do you have any advice for new writers?
I think, like I was saying, first of all, decide what if this is the profession you want to follow,
Mm-hmm.
this is what you love, that's a lot of the battle.
Mm-hmm.
And then you have to read and read and read and read all kinds of novels, read different genres, you know,
Mm-hmm.
from different times, different countries. Really, that will form and help you learn what kind of writer you want to be.
Okay.
Go out there into the world,
Mm-hmm.
experience. You have to live, you have to
Mm-hmm.
experience everything, to be able to put it down on paper. And then you have to write. You have to write every day.
Okay.
Even if you sit at your computer, or
Mm-hmm.
if you're an old fashioned writer and you're using your pen or your typewriter and
Mm-hmm.
no words come, you still have to write. So I would definitely say, if you want to be a writer, all those
Mm-hmm.
who do, these are definitely things you should follow.
Follow. Mm.
Yes.
Yeah. And do you see like common mistake from new writers compared to the experienced writers?
I don't think there's any mistake. It's different themes, you know,
Mm-hmm.
very, very different, and different characters and how they react as we change in the world. You know, before we would have stories which were not so much technology driven,
Mm-hmm.
and now there's so much more of that, you know.
Yeah.
But at the like the core of any story, you know, there's
Mm-hmm.
good versus evil. There are all
Yeah.
those ingredients, you know, hope, love, heartache,
Mm.
disappointments. That's all there in a book. It's just, I think, the settings and the kind of ambience the
Mm-hmm.
world is in, used to be. You know, the
Yeah.
clothes, it just changes. But mistakes, I don't know. I don't think, I won't look at it as mistakes. It's just how a writer wants to present their view of the world.
Okay. Yeah, that's good.
Right.
Yeah. So, who is your greatest inspiration, you would say?
Um, a, a strong women,
Mm-hmm.
very, very strong, driven women, especially writers, you know, like
Mm-hmm.
Maya Angelou, Toni
Mm-hmm.
Morrison. So women writers.
Yeah.
My mother, you know, strong women at home. My sister, very driven.
Mm-hmm.
people like, I really admired Ruth Ginsburg, who passed
Uh,
away a little. So strong
yeah,
women who fight and who go through their life being icons for others,
yeah,
believing in what they do and not
mm-hmm.
letting up on that because that's what they believe in,
Yeah,
right? So yes, just strong women in any sphere, really, whether any creative field,
mm-hmm.
writing, art, music, who've done it all and showed the way to do it and made a difference. And it's not without sacrifices.
Yeah, that's
But
true.
yeah, you would know. I mean,
Yeah, because like I feel sacrifice is the main attribute in every woman, no matter what profession they are in. Do you feel the same way?
well, the thing is, women are quite simply amazing.
Mm-hmm.
We do so much. We have children, if we're married or not. We have husbands. We have a whole family to look after.
Yeah.
And then we have careers and we have in-laws. So we're doing so much. And yet we manage to balance it.
Mm-hmm.
We do.
Yeah.
We do all that. So there is, I think, some element of, well, I'm going to do this first or I'll do this later.
Mm-hmm.
But I think we're getting better at managing more,
Mm-hmm.
because again, it just comes down to if you know what you want as a woman, you're a happier person, then you're a stronger person.
Mm-hmm.
And with that, you can then say, okay, this is what I'm going to do, and this is how I'm going to do it. And once you have your act together, you can then, everything else will come.
Mm-hmm.
Before, I think, well, another generation or two generations ago, it was all about just the family,
Yeah.
just the husband, just the in-laws, and then last, okay, now I have time to do this for myself.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm glad that has changed
Yeah.
because we need to put ourselves right up there like men do.
Mm-hmm.
Get on with what we like and what we love. And then because you're just so much more empowered,
Mm-hmm.
you can change things and make it work for yourself also. And people fall into place, things fall into place. Don't you agree? Urvi, what
Yes,
do
I
you think?
agree.
Give me your point of view.
Yeah, I totally agree with that because like I have seen if you stop doing and giving yourself a priority, things eventually fall in its place and you don't have to worry about that. But we are so much into worrying about others, we don't think about ourselves, what we want to do. I really think that.
But I also think it's changing and it should
Yeah,
change, Urvi. It should.
yeah, it
You know,
should.
there is no need to do that.
Of course, that I totally agree with you because, like, but do you think like there is a small fear that's why women are not prioritizing themselves? Maybe somewhere because I know it's changing, but
Hmm.
we still have to work for that because there are still, I would say, 50% of them are still fear and not putting themselves for a priority.
Well, it's going to take a while for change, right?
Yeah,
And I think we grew up seeing others, our mothers, our mother-in-laws, our aunts. So we have that fear. But you and me know that that's where, look at us, we're
yeah,
talking, we're doing what we want to do.
yes.
And it's really once you decide this is what you're going to do, you have that solid foundation for doing
Mm-hmm.
that.
Mm-hmm.
You realize what is fear. I mean, why did I even allow that to happen?
Yeah, I totally agree with that.
And then everything else kind of falls, like I said, then others listen, and things, you make things happen.
Yeah,
So you got to start with yourself.
that's true. That's totally true. Yeah. So, yeah, I don't want to hold you along, but I have one last question. How you feel being a Desi girl?
Wonderful. I'm going to actually, because I know all about the Desi Girl, and I've been reading about it and looking at the posts and everything. And I'm going to leave with a quote.
Okay.
Okay, this is one of my favorite quotes, Urvi. It's from
Mm-hmm.
an English writer called George Eliot, and
Mm-hmm.
it says, "It's never too late to be who you want to be.
Wow.
It's never too late to be who you want to be. It's never,
Yeah,
Urvi.
that's
You
true.
just go for it. Put your mindset onto the positive and the
Mm-hmm.
what can happen and what is possible.
That's true.
Just
That's
shake
true.
off the shackles of everything else,
Mm-hmm.
and we can do it, right?
Yeah, we can, of course. Yeah. Thank you so much, Kusum. It was wonderful talking to you. And of course, yeah, you can empower and we can inspire other women for sure.
Sure, Urvi, we've got to do it. And thank you so much for having me on your program. And
Mhm.
I look forward to talking to you again. And all the best to you, Urvi, also. Thank
Thank
you.
you. Thank you so much. And we are excited to see your new book.
Thank you, Urvi. We'll keep in touch for sure.
Yeah. Thank you so
Okay.
much.
Thank
Yeah.
you.
Bye
Bye.
bye.